Suppose a psychologist or psychiatrist hypnotized you. In that state, your conscious reasoning mind is suspended, and your subconscious is amenable to suggestion. And then he suggested to you that you were the President of the United States. Your subconscious would accept the statement as true. Your subconscious does not reason, choose, or differentiate, as does your conscious mind. You would assume all the airs of importance and dignity that you believe to be the legitimate concomitant of that position. If you were given a glass of water and told you were drunk, you would play the role of a drunkard to the best of your ability. If you told the psychiatrist that you were allergic to timothy grass, and he placed a glass of distilled water under your nose, telling you at the same time that it was timothy grass, you would generate all the symptoms of an allergic attack, and the physiological and physical reactions would be the same as if the water were actually timothy grass. If you were told that you were a beggar on Skid Row, your demeanor would immediately change, and you would assume the attitude of humble suppliance with an imaginary tin cup in your hand. In short, you may be made to believe that you are anything, such as a statue, dog, soldier, or swimmer, and you will act the part suggested with amazing fidelity to the nature of the suggestion, insofar as your knowledge extends of the characteristics of the thing that is suggested. Another important point to remember is that your subconscious mind always accepts the dominant of two ideas. That is, it accepts your conviction without question whether your premise is true or absolutely false. The modern scientific straight-line thinker looks at God as the infinite intelligence within his subconscious mind. He doesn't care whether people call it the superconscious, unconscious, subjective mind, living spirit almighty, or whether they call this supreme intelligence Allah, Brahma, Jehovah, reality or spirit, or the all-seeing eye. The point is, it is there. It's within you. All the powers of the infinite are within you. God is spirit, however, and the spirit has no face, form, or figure. It is timeless, spaceless, and eternal. The same spirit indwells every man. This is why Paul says that thou stir up the gift of God which is in thee. You're also told the kingdom of God is within you, the book of Luke. Yes, God is in your thought, your feeling, your imagination. In other words, the invisible part of you is God. God is the life principle in you, boundless love, absolute harmony, infinite intelligence. Knowing that you can contact this invisible power through your thought, strip the whole process of prayer from mystery, superstition, doubt, and wonder. The Bible tells you the Word was God. The Word is the thought expressed, as you know, and based what you've already heard, every thought is creative and tends to manifest itself in your life according to the nature of your thought. It stands to reason that any time you discover the creative power, you have discovered God, as there's only one creative power, not two, three, or 1,000, just one. Hear, O Israel, Israel means illumined, awakened man. The Lord, the supreme power, our God is one Lord, one power, one presence, one cause, and one substance. Many of us have been conditioned negatively when we were young. All of us are susceptible to suggestion when we were young, highly impressionable. For example, supposing a man is, let us say, a sourpuss, or he has a nasty temper, or he complains about it, he can sit down every night prior to sleep and also in the morning and the afternoon, and he can affirm as follows. He can write these in his subconscious, he can reprogram his mind, he can redirect it, he can write upon it, and the nature of the subconscious is compulsive. Therefore, he'll be compelled to become genial, cordial, a man of goodwill. This is what he should say. Henceforth, I shall grow more good-humored. I shall have more joy and happiness and inner peace of mind. Every day I am becoming more and more lovable and understanding. I am now becoming the center of cheer, cordiality, and goodwill to all those around me, infecting them with good humor. This happy, joyous, and cheerful mood is now becoming my normal, natural state of mind, and I am grateful. He can take these statements, reiterate them, repeat them, remind himself that he's writing these in his deeper mind, and whatever is impressed in the subconscious mind comes forth as form, as function, as experience and event. For out of the heart of the subconscious are the issues of life. Many people have been victims of negative suggestions or negative conditioning or programming when they were very young. In all ages, the power of suggestion has played a part in the life and thought of man, in every period of time and in each country of the earth. In many parts of the world, it is the controlling power in religion. Suggestion may be used to discipline, control ourselves. There are constructive suggestions, and there are also negative ones. Suggestion can be used to take control and command over others who do not know the laws of mind. In its constructive form, it is wonderful and magnificent. In its negative aspects, it is one of the most destructive of all the response patterns of the mind, resulting in inferiority, patterns of failure, suffering, sickness, and disease. From infancy on, the majority of us have been given many negative suggestions. Negative programming would be a better word. Not knowing how to reject them or thwart them, we unconsciously accepted them. Here are some of the negative suggestions resulting in negative programming of your subconscious mind. You were told, oh, you can't do that. Maybe someone said to you, you'll never amount to anything. Now you have an inferiority complex. They said, you mustn't do that. You'll fail. You haven't got a chance. You're all wrong. It's no use. It's not what you know, but who you know. The world is going to the dogs. What's the use? Nobody cares. It's no use trying so hard. Others said to you, oh, you're too old now. Forget it. Your memory is failing. Things are getting worse and worse. Life is an endless grind. Others said to you, love is for the birds, and you just can't win. Pretty soon you'll be bankrupt. Watch out, you'll get the virus. You can't trust a soul. All these negative suggestions, if you accept them, you'll program your subconscious mind in a very negative way. You'll have a sense of inferiority, inadequacy, and a sense of fear. Unless, as an adult, you program your subconscious mind constructively, which is a reconditioning therapy. The impressions made on you in the past can cause behavior patterns that cause failure in your personal and social life. Programming is a means releasing you from the mass of negative verbal conditioning that might otherwise distort your life pattern, making the development of good habits difficult. Pick up the paper any day and you can read dozens of items that could sow the seeds of futility, fear, worry, anxiety, and impending doom. If accepted by you, these thoughts of fear could cause you to lose the will for life. Knowing that you can reject all these negative suggestions by giving your subconscious mind constructive autosuggestions, you counteract all these destructive ideas. Check regularly on the negative suggestions that people make to you. You do not have to be influenced by destructive negative suggestions. All of us have suffered from it in our childhood and in our teens. If you look back, you can easily recall how parents, friends, relatives, teachers, and associates contributed in a campaign of negative suggestions. Study the things said to you, and you will discover much of it was in the form of propaganda. The purpose of much of what was said was to control you or instill fear into you. The negative suggestions go on in every home, office, factory, and club. You will find that many of these negative suggestions are for the purpose of making you think, feel, and act as others want you to, and in ways that are to their advantage. That's negative programming of your deeper mind. Now, there is a right way to program your subconscious mind. Every morning of your life, you can sit steady, quiet, get relaxed, and affirm as follows. Divine law and order governs my life. Divine right action reigns supreme. Divine success is mine. Divine harmony is mine. Divine peace fills my soul. Divine love saturates my whole being. Divine abundance is mine. Divine love goes before me today and every day, making straight, joyous, and glorious my way. This is the way a Marine captain programmed his subconscious mind during World War II. He reiterated these truths frequently. Gradually, by repetition, faith, and expectancy, they entered into his subconscious mind, and whatever is impressed in the subconscious is compulsive. Therefore, he was compelled to lead a life of harmony and peace and of love. This is how he programmed his mind, every morning and every night. The Lord is my pilot. I shall not drift. He lighteth me across the dark waters. He steereth me in the deep channels. He keepeth my log. He guideth me by the star of holiness for his name's sake. Yea, though I sail mid the thunders and tempests of life, I shall dread no danger, for thou art with me. Thy love and thy care, they shelter me. Thou preparest a harbor before me in the homeland of eternity. Thou anointest the waves with oil. My ship rideth calmly. Surely sunlight and starlight shall favor me on the voyage I take, and I will rest in the ports of my God forever. That's by J. Rogers, the merchant marine captain, written during World War II. It's a wonderful way you can do that too, every morning before you step into your automobile. You can sit down and repeat that and reiterate it, remind yourself of these truths. What are you doing? Aren't you programming? Aren't you writing into your subconscious mind? Aren't you feeding it life-giving patterns? And as you reiterate these things and remind yourself and announce these truths and believe in them, they sink into your subconscious mind and they become compulsive, for the nature of your subconscious mind is compulsive. Last year, speaking in New Orleans, at the Unity Temple there, a woman told me, she said there was a man used to come here, and he used to say quite frequently, there are a lot of hold-ups in my neighborhood. I remain open that night rather late, and I'm going to be held up one of these nights. I'll probably be shot too. And they told him, stop making these negative suggestions. Stop thinking along that line. Well, he kept on doing it. He didn't pay any attention. He kept programming his subconscious negatively, and he was held up, and he was also shot. Now, that's the wrong way. He could have said, he could have taken the 91st Psalm and said, I dwell in the secret place of the Most High. I abide in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge, my fortress, my God, in him will I trust. Surely he shall cover me with his feathers, and under his wings shall I rest. And the truth shall be my shield and buckler. I shall not be afraid for the terror by night, or the arrow that flieth by day. He could have reiterated these truths. He could have realized the love of God surrounded him and enfolded him. Where he was, God was. He could have said to himself, thou art my hiding place. Thou wilt compass me about with songs of deliverance. And then he would build up an immunity to all harm. These are spiritual antibodies that immunize you. You become God intoxicated. And that's the right way to program your mind. A few years ago, a detective told me about a woman who was raped and strangled. In checking her apartment, he found clippings of rape going back for 20 years. That which I greatly feared, Job says, has come upon me. Actually, she was programming her subconscious mind negatively, of course, and she experienced that which she feared. That's the wrong thing to do. Fear is faith upside down. Fear is faith in the wrong thing. We've had politicians running for office who've openly said to newsmen, one man in particular said, I lived in constant fear of assassination, even though he had bulletproof glass in front of him when he spoke, but he announced that to the reporters. Now, of course, he didn't, of course, know the laws of mind. That fear, he didn't know perhaps that he could cast out fear, but he could. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The rod means the power, and the staff is your authority. To call upon it will answer you. One with God is a majority, and if God be for me, who can be against me? Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. The politician could have said, I dwell in a secret place. I'm surrounded by the sacred circle of God's eternal love. The whole armor of God surrounds me. Wherever I go, the light of God surrounds me, enfolds me, and enwraps me. He would render himself invulnerable, invincible, and impervious to all harm. That's the right way to program your subconscious mind. You can build up that immunity. Oh, yes, you can. As a man thinketh in his heart or subconscious, so is he. So does he act, so does he experience, so does he express. This is the law. I'm not talking about thinking in the head. I'm talking about thinking in your heart, your own subconscious. Whatever is impressed there is expressed. Remember, when you're dealing with your subconscious, you're dealing with the power of the Almighty. It's the power that moves the world. It's the power that moves the galaxies in space. It's almighty. There's nothing to oppose it. Consciousness is God. Unconditioned consciousness, sometimes it's called awareness, I am, living spirit almighty. Your consciousness is the union of your conscious and subconscious mind. It's the sum total of your acceptances, your beliefs, your opinions, and your convictions. That's God. That's the only God you'll ever know. Your thought and feeling create your destiny. Consciousness is God because it is the only creative power in your life. And your thought and feeling, yes, is the father of all experience. If you talk about the Father within, well, what fathers everything? Your own thought and feeling. Your conscious and subconscious. Whatever your conscious and subconscious mind agree on, meaning the brain and the heart, comes to pass. True or false, good or bad. You're the one who's choosing. You mold and fashion your own destiny. Your faith in God is your fortune. And your faith should be in the goodness of God, in the land of the living, in the guidance of God, in the harmony of God, in the beauty and glory of the infinite. That's where it should be. You're told, no manifestation cometh unto me, save I the Father draw it. The Father is your own thought and feeling. So whatever experiences come to us, there is an equivalent pattern in our subconscious mind. There's always a cause. And that cause, of course, is in our mind. A man said to me that he wanted to succeed and advance in life. In reality, he didn't. He had a subconscious pattern of failure. He had a sense of guilt and felt he should be punished. With his conscious mind, yes, he worked very hard. And he said to himself, in his intellect, oh, I worked very hard, but in his deeper mind, he was programmed and conditioned to failure. He had a sense of unworthiness and a belief which compelled him to fail. He had a picture of failing in his mind. He felt he should be punished, that he was a sinner. The law of your subconscious, you see, is compulsive. That's the power that I mentioned. That's the almighty power. It's the power of God. He learned to reprogram his mind by realizing that he was born to win, born to succeed, born to triumph, for the infinite power is within him. It knows no failure. It's almighty. It created all things. There's nothing to oppose it, challenge it, thwart it, or vitiate it, for it is almighty. It's the only power. Furthermore, he learned he was punishing himself. He started every morning and night and also during the day, and this is what he affirmed. Now, you're writing this, he was writing this down with his conscious mind. And this is what he wrote. I am born to win. I'm born to succeed in my prayer life, my relationship with people, in my chosen work, and in all phases of my life. For the infinite is within me, and the infinite can't fail. It's the power of the Almighty moving through me. It's my strength. It's my power. It's my wisdom. Then he says, success is mine. Harmony is mine. Beauty is mine. Divine love is mine. Abundance is mine. He reiterated, repeated these truths. He reflected upon them. He reminded himself driving along the road before he went in to see a customer. He announced these truths regularly and systematically, and he didn't deny what he affirmed. And gradually, he became a tremendous success because he succeeded in impregnating his subconscious mind by repetition, reminding himself, announcing these things, teaching his thoughts to dwell upon the great affirmatives of life. And as you do this regularly and systematically, wonders will happen in your life. When you were born, no one had to tell you how to find the mother's breast, you know. There was a subjective wisdom guiding you, directing you. Yes, the Bible says, I will write my laws in your inward parts. I will write them in your heart. I will be your God, and you shall be my people. So all the powers of the God are within you, and the laws and the truths of God are written in your own subjective mind. All the vital organs were controlled when you were born, when you were sound asleep. Every night of your life, that same intelligence governs all the vital organs of your body, your breathing, your inspiration, circulation of your blood, your digestion, your heartbeat, and all that. And that's the God presence within you. The presence and power of God are within you. The great eternal truths are there. They were inscribed in your heart before you were born. But all of us have been programmed since birth. Millions of people have been programmed with certain fears, false beliefs, taboos, and strictures and superstitions of the first water. As Quinby said in 1847, every child is like a little white tablet. Everybody comes along and scribbles something on it, you know, grandmother, grandfather, clergymen, father, mother, sisters, brothers. We receive an avalanche of sights and sounds, beliefs and opinions, and don'ts and fears and doubts. You weren't born with any fears at all, you know. You weren't born with any prejudices. You weren't born with any creedal beliefs or any false or weird concepts of God or life. Where did you get them? Someone gave them to you. Someone programmed you, perhaps negatively. Many were told they were sinners in the hands of an angry God. I have talked to women, beautiful, attractive, well-educated. They wear black stockings. They think it's a sin to use rouge or makeup of any kind. Or wear gold, oh, that's a terrible sin. To play cards, cards are of the devil. Or attend movies, all these are sins. Well, when you look at them, they're frustrated, bottled up, inhibited, unhappy. I tell them to wake up, to dress for God. There's nothing in the universe evil. The whole world is here, was here when they were born. All the birds sing for you, and all the animals in the world are here too, and all the stars are in the sky for you to adore and to worship and to be delighted with. So I tell them, I said, you're here to dance, and go ahead and learn to dance, for the universe is the dance of God. And I tell them, learn, take lessons in golf, play music, do all the things you're not doing. Play music, attend college, take lectures in public speaking, meet men, and go out and take courses in Spanish or many other things. You're here to lead a full and happy life. You're here to live in an objective world, have recreation, have fun, merriment, and joy, and creativity, and express yourself. You're also here to meditate and to pray, of course, too. We're living in a subjective and objective world. There's nothing evil in the universe. God pronounced everything good. Therefore, there's nothing evil in dancing or playing cards or anything of that nature, looking at a movie, a constructive one, nothing evil in any of those things. Nothing good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Then I explained to them, I said, you're frustrated, you're sick, you're unhappy. And I teach them how to attract a man into their life. I said, you should be married, you should have love. Every woman wants to be loved and cosseted, appreciated. She likes to receive attention. She wants to feel needed and wanted. And if she says she doesn't, she's sick. Every woman does. And then they learn a simple law. They go out and do all these things. Do the thing you're afraid to do, and the death of fear is certain. I tell them, you've been brainwashed. You've been programmed negatively and destructively. And the will of God for you is a greater measure of joy, of happiness, of love, of peace of mind. They learn the law of attraction. You should see some of them now coming to the Wilshire Ebell Theatre, beautifully dressed, you know, and they have some makeup on too, and they have beautiful rings, sometimes a marriage ring. Oh, yes, they have transformed. They have reprogrammed their mind. Infinite Spirit attracts to me the ideal man who harmonizes with me in every way, shape, and form. He is spiritual-minded. He loves my ideals. I love his ideals. He doesn't want to make me over, and I don't want to make him over. He comes without encumbrances. He's the man sent from God. There are harmony, peace, love, and understanding between us. That's the prayer I give them, and I say, now you write that down in your subconscious. Do it with interest. Gradually, like a seed, it will die in your deeper mind and come to pass in ways you know not of. I was taught when I was young that if the boy were indoctrinated with a certain religious belief until he was 7, that no one could change him. Well, of course, it can be changed. It was rather difficult. The boy, of course, is being brainwashed. But they were referring, you see, to that negative conditioning of the mind. When young, we're susceptible, we're impressionable and teachable. We're amenable to suggestion. We don't have the sense to reject it, reject the negative suggestions, and we accept the many false beliefs and erroneous concepts regards God, life, and the universe. Where did you get your creed or your religious belief? You certainly weren't born with it. Is it true? Is it reasonable? Is it illogical and unreasonable? Is it unscientific? If it's unscientific and illogical and unreasonable, it can't be true. There is Pat, for example. He believes the cards are stacked against him. Some fortune teller told him that, I suppose. The cards are not stacked against him. The universe is for him. But he has enthroned that concept and he believes it. His subconscious mind accepts it. This false belief creates a quarrel in his mind, and he thinks people are working against him, that misfortune will follow him, some sort of a jinx is after him. He made that law for himself, and it controls him and governs him. Man's subconscious assumptions, beliefs, and convictions dictate and control and manipulate all his conscious actions. The late Dr. David Seabury told me about a man who was practically crippled, partially crippled anyhow. He had little or no education, and as an experiment in suggestion, he pretended to analyze his potentialities based upon the idea that his mental faculties and character tracks are indicated by the configuration of one's head, also the lines and the configuration in his hand. Seabury told this man who was partially crippled, he said, you're destined to become a great evangelist, a great preacher. God intended you to go forth and preach in a wonderful, wonderful way. This man became active in his particular church, and he became an outstanding preacher, Dr. Seabury said. He accepted and believed that God had ordained him to become a great preacher, and according to his belief was it done to him. And it was just as simple as that. There's only one power, one presence. Your thought and feeling fathers all your experience. How are you programming your subconscious mind? The creative power is one. Do you know one of the greatest of all truths? Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord. One Lord. Israel means a prince ruling with God. Israel means any man who knows his I amness, to be the Lord God Almighty, to be sovereign and supreme. And he gives all his allegiance, devotion, and loyalty to that one power, the living spirit within him. He gives no power to any created thing, to any man, woman, or child in this universe. Your Lord, our Master, is your dominant idea, or belief, your conviction. That's your Lord. Suppose you believe a God of love, in a God of love. Supposing that belief is enthroned in your mind, and you really believe it, that's the only presence and power, is dominant, supreme, and you give it all your allegiance and loyalty and devotion, then that is your Lord, it's your Master. Then you lead a charmed life. In England, some men believe that every November they're going to get rheumatism. They attribute it to the climate and the change of atmosphere and so on. And of course they do receive it. They have programmed their mind. They expect it. And according to their belief or expectancies, are done it to them. So you have one man in the house. He gets his rheumatism regularly in November. Now his brother, living in the same house, eating the same food, born of the same parents, working the same farm, doesn't get rheumatism at all. He believes in health and long life. Other people believe the night air will give them a cold, or if someone sneezes in the office, they'll get the sniffles. And according to their belief, is it done unto them. Others in the office do not get the cold or the flu at all. Some people, if their feet get wet, you know, they say, oh, I'm going to get my death of cold. I'm going to get a chill now. And, of course, the water is only H2O. The water never said, I'll give you a cold or the sniffles or anything. It's all belief or negative conditioning. The air is innocuous. The night air is innocuous. It's hydrogen, nitrogen, oxygen, and some other gases. It's harmless. Water is hydrogen and oxygen. Is their belief is the cause of it. Your belief is your Lord and your Master. There be lords many, but there's one Lord, the Father of whom are all things. When a person sneezes in the office, it doesn't mean you're going to catch a cold or there's some germ there that's going to attack you. Others in the office don't get the cold at all, but if you believe that, then you bring it on yourself. You may attribute it to germs in the office or the air. Others are immune to it. There's some people sit under a fan all day long. They don't suffer from a draft or get a stiff neck. If you believe you're going to get a stiff neck, the fan is simply molecules moving in space at tremendous velocity, that's all. You've built a law about sneezing or about a fan or about the air or about the water. And then you point to the fan or to the night air or something and say, oh, that you are now ill because of the draft, or you got a bad cold, a bad pain in your neck, and so forth. And you point to these things, and you say where your belief is corroborated, you know. But others deny that and laugh at it. So you've made a law for yourself, because if it were a law that anyone sitting under a fan would get a stiff neck, then everyone in the world sitting under a fan would be subject to that law. But it's not a law at all. It's a law you make for yourself. It's absolutely innocuous, absolutely harmless. Stop making laws for yourself. It's like the person who makes a law that at red rose, he's allergic to a red rose. Well, in talking to him, you find that the girl that he was going with some years ago used to wear a red rose all the time. And she ran off with another man. He has never released her, forgiven her, and his resentment is lurking in his subconscious mind. So when he sees another girl with a red rose, he sizzles. It's not the girl, it's not the rose. It is the poison pocket in his own subconscious. He should have rejoiced and said, you know, I wish for that girl health and happiness and peace. I'm rejoiced that she's found the man of her dreams, and God be with her. Then he would be doing the right thing, and he would be very selfish when he did that, because he'd be blessing himself. For what you wish for another, you see, you're wishing for yourself. Externals have no power except through your own consciousness. So your consciousness is the union of your conscious and subconscious mind. Your conscious mind chooses. The alcoholic, for example, he has repeatedly suggested to himself weakness, inadequacy, inferiority, rejection, and after a while, as he continues to make these negative suggestions and continues to drink to bolster his courage, he's denying the divinity within him, the power of the Almighty within him. And after a while, through repeated negative suggestions, he has lost the choice. Now he takes one drink and he's off to the races. he's a compulsive drinker, he's an inebriate. Before he had choice, he could say, well, I'll take 1 or 2 drinks and that's all. Now he hasn't. He's lost that power. For the subconscious is the only power in the world that can say, I will and mean it. And so he's been rejecting the only presence and power. And he's implanted these negative suggestions by repetition into his deeper mind. He can, of course, change it. He's referred to sometimes as a compulsive drinker, or there's also, of course, the compulsive gambler and the compulsive eater and so forth, all based upon negative suggestions repeated over and over again into the deeper mind. He says, I will not drink. He may take an oath on the Bible that he'll never take another drink, but all that's nonsense. It's just a joke and a farce. He is thinking and picturing himself at the bar. Actually, he's writing or engraving the idea of drinking deeper into his subconscious mind, and he's compelled to go out and get drunk. Subconscious mind reacts according to our habitual thinking and imagery. As we sow, we reap. What we impress in our subconscious is expressed. And when we feed the computer in the laboratory with false data, then of course it gives us the wrong answer. We should feed our subconscious mind with life-giving patterns. The alcoholic can do that. He can say to his deeper mind, that is, he must want to give it up, of course, and come to a decision, clear-cut decision. And when he desires to give it up, when his desire to give it up is greater than his desire to continue it, actually he's 75% healed, then the power of the Almighty will back him up and move in his behalf. So he comes to a decision. He claims sobriety and peace of mind are mine now, from now on. I decree this, I mean it, I'm absolutely sincere. It's irrevocable. And then he pictures himself doing what he loves to do. If he's an attorney, for example, who's hit the bottom and who became a panhandler due to alcohol, he's back at court pleading a case for a client. He's behind the polished mahogany desk. He's talking to his client. He makes there, here, in the future now. He's clean-shaven. He's well-dressed. He's talking to the judge. He's back with his family. He's embraced by his daughter and his wife and so forth. He's living the role. And when the desire comes to him, to have a drink, he flashes the movie in his mind, back with his daughter, his wife, back at home or back in the office pleading the case. He is now living that role, and the power of the Almighty backs him up. And as he continues to think of freedom, peace of mind, and sobriety, as he continues to think about it, as he begins to feel the joy and the wonders of it all, and pictures himself home doing the things he loves to do, it passes from thought and mood and picture to function and to fact. Like a seed, you see, it dies in the deeper mind and comes forth as the fruit of the answered prayer. So he can overcome it. That's reprogramming his subconscious mind to harmony, to health, sobriety, and peace of mind. And the power of the Almighty will back him up and take away that craving, and he's free. And he forgives himself, of course, for harboring negative thoughts, and he forgives everybody else too, by pouring out love, peace, and goodwill on all those around him. And you always know when you're forgiven, because you can meet the person in your mind and there's no sting there anymore. Why? Because you poured out love and goodwill and harmony and wished for that person all the blessings of life. All of us are here to grow, to learn, to release the imprisoned splendor that is within. We're not born, fully orbed with all our faculties fully developed. Oh, no. You're here to learn. You're here to sharpen your mental and spiritual tools and joys in overcoming, joys in mastery. We are in a world of opposites, and we're told, choose ye this day whom you will serve. You're not an animal. You're not an automaton. You have freedom to choose. You have volition. You have initiative. That's the way you discover your divinity. There is no other way under the sun. You're not compelled to be good. You're not governed by instinct only. No, you have the opportunity of becoming a holy man. You know anything you want to. I hold before you an open door which no man can shut. Think in whatsoever things are true, lovely, noble, and godlike. You think on these things all day long. You can begin to recondition your mind. You can picture yourself doing what you long to do, because you go where your vision is, and your vision is what you're looking at, what you're thinking about, what you're focused on. And as you continue to focus your attention on that which is lovely and of good report, your deeper mind will respond, and you'll be compelled to move forward in the light. For this almighty power will move in your behalf. You can reiterate some great truths as you drive along the road. You say there's only one power, one presence, one cause. It's boundless love, it's infinite intelligence, absolute harmony. It's moving in me, through me, and all around me. You can do this as you drive along the road, at lunch, as walking the streets, or sitting down to dinner. You can do all these wonderful things. You can reiterate and remind yourself of these great truths. Choose the good. Choose right action. Yes, and radiate love, peace, and goodwill to everybody. Keep on reiterating these truths, morning, noon, and night. Finally, these truths will sink into your subconscious, for out of the heart are the issues of life. Out of the subconscious will come forth whatever you've impressed upon it. Keep thy heart with all diligence. See to it that nothing but godlike thoughts and ideas enter into your deeper mind. Hear the age-old truth again and again, until it forms a conviction in your subconscious mind. Hear the absolute truth, I am, and there is none else. One power, one presence, one cause, and one substance. When inscribed in your heart, it becomes compulsive, and you will be compelled to good and to right action. Some are automatically guided. They have the touch of Midas. They've repeated themselves over and over again. Infinite intelligence guides me. Whatever I do will be right. Right action is mine. Morning, noon, and night. They reiterate these truths because there is a principle of right action. There is a principle of guidance, and they're activating it from a universal or infinite standpoint. And some of them, and many of them, do have the touch of Midas. Grace, you know, is the automatic response of your subconscious to your conscious mind thinking and visioning. I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? Wonderful truth. Marvelous to reiterate that as you drive along the road. A rabbi on the plain some years ago told me that when he was a young boy, all the boys and girls were taught to read and study Deuteronomy, the 6th chapter of Deuteronomy. Very beautiful chapter, by the way. They had to realize that God was one and all-powerful, and they committed many of these verses to memory. Deuteronomy 6, for example. This is what they had to remember. 6th chapter of Deuteronomy. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart. Remember, in thine heart. And thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and shalt talk of them when thou sittest in thine house, and when thou walkest by the way, and when thou liest down, and when thou risest up. And thou shalt bind them for a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thine eyes. And thou shalt write them upon the posts of thine house, and on thy gates. Thou shalt fear means respect, thou shalt fear the Lord thy God, and serve him, and shalt swear by his name. Ye shall not go after other gods, of the people which are round about you. For the Lord thy God is a jealous God, lest the anger of the Lord thy God be kindled against thee and destroy thee. For jealousy in the Bible means you mustn't know another power. You must not give allegiance to any created thing. You must only recognize the one power only. Hear, O Israel, the Lord thy God is one Lord. Well, the idea behind all this is that a firm conviction was to be placed in their heart, you know, because they kept repeating it. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God. Love is allegiance and loyalty. And thou shalt know no other God, meaning they give power to the one presence and power, and you refuse to give power to anything in the phenomenalistic world. or to any man, woman, or child, or sun, or moon, or star, or any created thing. The moment you do, you have no God. For I, the Lord, as it tells you, am jealous. Jealous in the sense you don't know another. You just are married to the one, allegiance to the one. Now, this rabbi explained to me that the mezuzah, for example, is a small case or tube, typically of metal or wood, and with an aperture in front that is traditionally attached by Jews to the doorpost of the home. Oftentimes I lived in the same house as a Jewish doctor friend of mine, and he would always touch this as he opened the door. That contained a piece of parchment inscribed on one side with the verses 4 to 9 of Deuteronomy, which I just read to you. Also the 13th and 21 verses, such as, Thou shalt say unto thy son, We were Pharaoh's bondsmen in Egypt, and the Lord brought us out of Egypt with a mighty hand. All beautiful verses, by the way. So these verses are written inside of that. On the other side with the word Shaddai, meaning a name for God, the beautiful one, the God of light. And folded in the case or tube so that Shaddai is visible through the aperture. It's over the doorpost, you see. And the phylactery is the Greek word for it, also tefillin, either of two small black leather cubes having leather straps and containing a piece of parchment inscribed with these verses, the 4th to 9, and the 11th and 13th and 21 of the 6th chapter of Deuteronomy. I read some of these verses for you. They're very, very beautiful. You ought to read them. And one cube worn is strapped to the left arm, and the other to the forehead during religious services. And naturally, if you moved your arm, it would remind you, and if you moved your eyes, it would remind you too. Well, of course, people in all walks of life, down through the ages, where in India you get on a plane sometimes and a man comes on with a little Buddha attached to him. Another comes on with some amulet or charm, or they wear Christopher medals or a rosary bead. All these things have no power, of course. The little strap or the phylactery or the tefillin or these things that they wear, the mezuzah, have no power, of course, but it's simply to remind them that they might begin to contemplate the presence of God in their own hearts and the only presence and power. Likewise, Christopher medal, of course, the late, this present Pope, I think, said he never lived, that man never lived, but people do wear the medal and they think it's going to protect them. Of course, it's only a piece of tin. It has no power. But it's not to be ridiculed, of course, because it does remind people of a higher power, and they may believe in it and all that. So it's a reminder of the truths. But the main thing is to incorporate these truths in the soul, so you don't need a talisman or an amulet or a charm or a Buddha or a statue, or you don't need a mezuzah or a phylactery or any of these things. Because with your thought, you're in communion with God, you see, and you can communicate with it instantaneously and realize that the Lord is your shepherd and you shall never want. You can remind yourself, but my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. Remember, the truths have to be incorporated in your heart, not in your head. For as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he, and so does he express. You must eat the apple before it becomes your bloodstream. Likewise, you have to absorb and digest these truths. And it's not vain repetitions. Do not gain the ear of God. But what you absorb and digest and incorporate into your soul. Therefore, these truths, as they repeat them and begin to dwell upon them, reiterate them and remind yourself, and go within yourself and announce these truths to your mind regularly, gradually, again and again and again and again and again. Gradually you'll begin to believe and become convinced that there's only one power. It'll become a philosophical absolute in your mind, that the I am within you is the only God there is. It's all-powerful, all-wise. It's the lost word. It's lost to millions. It's their mouth, morning, noon, and night. The word is nigh in thy mouth, and thy heart to will and to do. Moses tells you that there's no use going over the sea for it, or going up into the air for it. The word is nigh in thy mouth and thy heart to will and to do. Here are some great truths, but my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory. In quietness and in confidence shall be your strength. God who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. But with God all things are possible. Before they call I will answer, while they are yet speaking I will hear. According to your faith be it unto thee. If thou canst believe, all things are possible to him that believeth. He shall call upon me, and I will answer him. I will be with him in trouble. I will deliver him, and honor him. With long life will I satisfy him, and show him my salvation. All things be ready, if the mind be so. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. Here you are told you shall receive that for which you ask. It shall be opened to you when you knock. You shall find that for which you are searching. This teaching implies the definiteness of mental and spiritual laws. There is always a direct response from infinite intelligence of your subconscious mind to your conscious thinking. Therefore, you can program your subconscious mind constructively, harmoniously, peacefully. If you ask for bread, you will not receive a stone. You must ask believing if you are to receive. Your mind moves from the thought to the thing. Unless there is first an image in the mind, it cannot move, for there would be nothing for it to move. When you come to the Ebell Theatre on Sunday, first is an image in your mind. Of course it is. When you think of your mother, you see your mother in your mind. Your prayer, which is your mental act, must be accepted as an image in your mind before the power from your subconscious will play upon it and make it productive. You must reach a point of acceptance in your mind, an unqualified and undisputed state of agreement. This contemplation should be accompanied by a feeling of joy and restfulness in foreseeing the certain accomplishment of your desire. The sound basis for the art and science of true programming of your subconscious is your knowledge and complete confidence that the movement of your conscious mind will gain a definite response from your subconscious mind, which is one with boundless wisdom and infinite power. The easiest and most obvious way to formulate an idea is to visualize it, to see it in your mind's eye as vividly as if it were alive. You can see with the naked eye only what already exists in the external world. In a similar way, that which you can visualize in your mind's eye already exists in the invisible realms of your mind. Any picture which you have in your mind is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. What you form in your imagination is as real as any part of your body. The idea and the thought are real and will one day appear in your objective world if you're faithful to your mental image. The process of thinking forms impressions in your mind. These impressions in turn become manifested as facts and experiences in your life. The builder visualizes the type of building he wants. He sees it as he desires it to be completed. His imagery and thought processes become a plastic mold from which the building will emerge, a beautiful or an ugly one, a skyscraper or a very low one. His mental imagery is projected as it is drawn on paper. Eventually, the contractor and his workers gather the essential materials, and the building progresses until it stands finished, conforming perfectly to the mental patterns of the architect. You can use the visualization technique, quiet the wheels of your mind, then picture the loved one whole and perfect, and that loved one is telling you the miracle of God has happened. I never felt better in my life. You see the light in the eye, you see your loved one smile. You don't see them in the hospital, but you see them home doing the things they love to do, radiant and happy and free. You build it up in your mind. That would be called prayer. Realize a picture is worth 1,000 words. William James, the father of American psychology, stressed the fact that the subconscious mind will bring to pass any picture held in the mind and backed by faith. Act as though I am, and I will be. Act as though you now are what you long to be. Live the role in your mind. Do it again and again and again. Gradually it'll sink into your deeper mind, and wonders will happen as you pray that way. Let us realize now that we are going to go by the King's highway. We will not turn to the right hand, nor to the left. And your way is God's way, and all God's ways are pleasantness, and all his paths are peace. Place yourself under God's guidance. Realize God is guiding you now. There is right action in your life, and the Holy Spirit goes before you, making straight, joyous, and glorious your way. Your highway from now on is the royal road of the ancients. It's the middle path of Buddha. It's the straight and narrow gate of Jesus. Your highway is the King's highway, for you're a king over all your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. Send the messengers of love. They're called God's messengers. What are they? The messengers are God's love, peace, light, and beauty, are going before you today and every day to make straight, beautiful, joyous, and happy your way. Always travel the King's highway, and then you will meet God's messengers of peace and joy wherever you go. Go by the mountain-top road, knowing that with your eyes stayed on God, there is no evil on your pathway. Whilst driving a car, riding on a train, bus, airplane, or on foot, realize God's spell is always around you. It is the invisible armor of God, and you go from point to point freely, joyously, and lovingly. The Spirit of the Lord is upon you, making all roads a highway for your God. And the Lord, he it is that doth go before thee, whithersoever thou goest. Your conviction of God's presence is strong and mighty. Know the spiritual atmosphere in which you dwell goes before you, making straight, beautiful, joyous, and happy, and prosperous the way. Realize divine love fills your soul, divine peace floods your mind. And realize God in the midst of you is guiding you now, and the light of God illumines your pathway. Know there's a perfect law of supply and demand, and you're instantly in touch with everything you need. You're divinely guided in all your ways. You're giving of your talents in a wonderful way. It is written, I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. I will lead them in paths they hath not known. God bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you. The Lord lifts up his countenance upon you, is gracious unto you, and gives you peace. My peace I leave you, my peace I give you. Not as the world giveth, give I unto you. Let not your hearts be troubled. Be not afraid. Trust in God, and do good. Thus shall you walk in the land, and verily you will be fed. Fed with what? With wisdom, truth, and beauty, with harmony, health, and peace. This is why they said, Lord, evermore give me this bread.